Hey, we're here with James.
Hi.
Hi, James. James just managed to get his t-shirt on. Otherwise, he had a naked body on the screen.
Yeah, it's warm out there.
It is. I'm inside, but you've been outside. Nice picture. You sent, little video you sent me of the pond.
Yeah, it's funny. I went down there earlier, and there's about 5 dragonflies. But as soon as I went down with the phone, they seem to know and they hide up. So I was hoping to video them, but they don't seem to like being photographed for some reason. Never know why.
Oh. Well, it's good to see you, James. James, you're a bit in transit at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm visiting my mother at the moment. A bit sort of painful as well. I spoke to my daughter. I said, "Do you want to see me?" And she goes, "I don't know." I thought, well, if you don't know, you either want to see me or you don't. But then she said, "Oh, I can't go out." And I thought, oh well. I said, "Well, you want to get out in the fresh air, really, rather than being stuck indoors."
Do you know who this is hurting more? The people that have woken up and know it's a lie. And no matter, I said to you on the phone earlier on, no matter which way you look at it, each one of us has been put in segregation, whether we like it or not. We're all segregated one way or another. It's going to affect somebody. But the most thing I've heard lately is the truthers, how upset they are when their family says, no, you can't come round till next week, next month, next year, because I'm on lockdown. That really upsets the people. It's happened to me.
It's crazy, isn't it? So where they're sort of victims of this, but I mean, it's awful, really. I mean, there's been reports of people committing suicide because they can't handle it. People are on their own, and the cruelty. People who are sort of terminally ill and these in palliative care, where I don't think they really bothered because they're dying anyway, and it's just cruel on them. But I don't know what the rules are, whether they can. I think some of them, they're only allowed 1 visitor a day. So if it's somebody elderly and they've got, say, 4 children, they may not even get to say their goodbyes to them, which is awful. There's no sort of respect. Bit of doom and gloom, isn't it? Don't want to really talk about that.
Yeah, it's doom and gloom. This whole thing is doom and gloom for everybody.
Well, personally, I think the world has gone into self-destruct mode. I think we're going into I think there's 2 types of reset. There's always a good and bad to everything. I think this is the good reset. Personally, I think we're looking at September. I'm just going to move it to the garden, so I should be accompanied by Robin's song.
I know, it's crazy though. You can't hold an economy down like that though, can you? Hey, we'll just be closed for 6 months. Everybody can handle it, can't you? We'll give you all the money. We'll give you all the rates, and you get. Obviously, those people are self-employed. They get that grant, so everybody's been given money.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's the whole supply infrastructure. Just taking something like one McDonald's drive-through. How much milk do they go through in a day? Have they got ways of freezing it and holding it in readiness?
Well, I mean, yeah, again, you hear these stories where people are saying, oh God, it's going to affect the food chain, we're having to slaughter our animals. When I went out to go to that thing at Hyde Park last week, we went through where Marilyn lives. There's a park there, and there's a little sort of town there, because London's made up of lots of little towns. And basically there's a butcher open, and it was stacked full of food. But I did notice that maybe a couple of months ago it might have been joints of meat that were sitting on that counter. Maybe there's more sausages and stuff like that. It was packed full of meat.
That's strange, because that would have to be fresh meat, I would have thought. So there's so many mixed stories going around. It's a job to know what to believe with it all. Personally, I've cut off from it, to be honest.
Yeah, we can stick on the spiritual side if you like, James, because that's your forte.
Well, it's very much. I'm leaning very much. I'm reading I've been introduced to this series of books called Anastasia. We can get an audio version on YouTube. I think it's Lime Green. Or if you put in Singing Cedar Trees series, I think it's called the Anastasia books, and it shows a completely different way of doing things. And
Tartaria, like.
Well, a lot of the channels across the whole spectrum of the channels, there's a silver thread of we manifest things from thought. And then when you think about news is classed as entertainment, and it's, I mean, I just had my mother saying about Trump saying about war with China. I said, don't even think it. I said, because you will manifest it. I said, well, it is a case of where.
You know why he's got to push that, though, don't you? Because he wants to be re-elected, so he wants to be the hero.
Well, it's
when actually he's one of the main players in the game, but he wants to be the hero, so he's re-elected. I mean, everybody that believes in him thinks that when he gets back in, this is when he's going to deal with the media and everything, but I don't.
Well, there's all the talk of the QAnon and the white hats and things. I'd like to think that it's true, but something inside says no. The thing is, if there's things going around on the internet of there's this secret military operation going on down, and the lockdown is a cover to keep everybody out of the way. Well, clearly, looking at the censorship on social media, the internet isn't in control of this supposed good side. So I think it's just wishful thinking. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, I've never seen people like Bill Gates and George Soros, and they're just characters. Have they been arrested? Are they in underground bunkers? I can't verify.
Anyway, you know what's happening. If that's the case, it's all being done secretively. You know, the people want the truth now. We don't want it all done exactly the same way. So they're telling us that they're arrested, but they're not. You know, it's awful. It's just such a play on the people all the time, isn't it?
This is the thing. It is. It's just theatre to keep people entertained and keep us distracted. I mean, there's some worrying signs I saw up in Scotland where the hedges have not dropped the leaves, and they're like the texture of paper. They've not dried out at all. And I thought, we've seen this with the California wine growing area, and it's like, this is not natural. The leaves are not sort of disintegrating and turning into compost in the woodland areas either up in Scotland. And it's like something is affecting the weather. Then there's fields that are just empty, and it's like, well, they're not. And then you hear stories about farmers that are being paid to not grow anything and and you start thinking, what is going on here? But on the flip side of that, I mean, I've driven to Berlin, I've driven back, I've gone up to Scotland, I went to Basingstoke, I've driven down to Norfolk. Now, I never allowed the thought in my head about I'm going to be stopped by the police, and it didn't happen. And this seems to be a thread that's running through a lot of channels.
I sort of know what you mean. I was so determined to go and see my boyfriend up in London, and
yeah,
everybody, you know, there are people saying, oh, you could get arrested, but I didn't take any notice of that. I didn't see anybody, and all the times I've been up there, I've seen nobody. I whiz into the station and I whiz off.
It's actually nice. I mean, I can take. I'm not afraid to take responsibility to say that my part in manifesting this was I wanted some peace and quiet, and it's lovely. I'm treating this as a period of retreat to do that inward spiritual journey, really. And it's just coming out that whole thing that thought manifests, and I've sort of proved that to myself with the way I'm sort of got through this year. And
Cece said that we're the ones making all this happen.
Yeah, Well, it is a bread from trail with this whole truth-seeking thing, looking at every minute detail. It follows the same pattern with. Well, I can quote the Anastasia book, the first one. If you a car and it will get you on it from a journey from A to B, but people want to start pulling it apart and finding out how the engine works and things, and then they miss the journey and they've not got there. And it does seem to be this spiritual journey that this experience in this reality seems to all be about that. This is the way it's looking to me anyway.
You know something? It's really weird, James. Just changing the subject a tiny bit. On my phone, I have this perfect picture of you. In the little box on the Hangout, it's perfect. But when you come up, it's all blurry.
Oh, I'm a CGI screen. I'm a character.
Oh, you're definitely a character, James, but I know you're a real person, so yeah. It's just a bit annoying that I can see you perfectly on, because I have to do it twice. I have to be on the Hangout and also record it, so that's why I'm on twice. But on my phone, you're perfect. On the computer, it's all blurry.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's like in conversations, if you mention particular keywords, there seems to be this voice recognition, and then the signal gets interrupted and intermittent.
You were on one that happened. That do you remember when we were on with Martin Leakey?
Yeah.
Like the marbles going round. Like someone's got a little jar like this, and marbles are going round. It's just the whole of his conversation. The whole of Santos was the same, and it was only the guests. So that's got to be Google doing something.
Yeah, jamming a signal. Some of my early videos, it seems like the sound has been suppressed as well. There's definitely something that they're doing. I mean, I don't know how I've ducked the radar and not had any videos pulled down, as far as I know. I've never had any warnings from YouTube, but
I've had videos taken off, James.
Yeah.
They don't. Very rarely do they strike you, but they just completely delete the video and say there's a problem and it's been deleted.
I'm very careful to not use particularly sensitive words in the title of the video, because I think that draws attention.
And it took them probably 2 or 3 months to take. You know, the Australian doctor, the one that says you can't catch a virus and all that.
Yeah.
His stayed on there for ages, but I heard that he was being deleted off everything. Why would they want to delete just someone's point of view? It's a point of view, you know?
Yeah, freedom of speech and all that.
Yeah, they just take it all down. I mean, I'm surprised we're allowed on YouTube and stuff in the first place, because, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is their technology. It is what it is. The only way to look at it is, if you do get a video taken down, is not start feeling angry, and because you're playing into their hands. It's like they want you to feel negative. They want you to be angry. It's like, well, I go on the idea of, well, anything I say, I can say again. Might make a better version next time, and try and twist it into a sort of positive sort of look on everything, really. It's like, well, the internet, the way it's been used and what it was designed for, is not actually very good, but it's given us a chance to communicate with other people, so we don't all feel like we're isolated and crazy. Because the common theme is we're definitely all the black sheep of each family, and we're thought of as crazy, and they just won't listen to us, and it can be very lonely. So it's nice to know there's other people.
They would keep it on right now, James. I don't know if you've seen it. Just every now and again, it's something will come up. So there's a group of people having a dinner party, but they're coveting. So they're all segregated, but they're all linking up like a hangout. So they're using Hangouts to have a dinner party.
That's a bit bizarre.
I mean, famous people.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's to encourage everybody else to follow their lead, as it were, I suppose.
Yeah, let's get everybody on the computer. Hello, I can't see you, but I can talk to you on here. I mean, is one way we do talk to each other. I know that, but then we don't live next to each other. But I'm just saying, families have to do this now. I can see you on the computer.
Yeah. Well, they've actually actively been encouraging it. I've seen an advert come up, which was I think it's some Google thing, so you can basically video call your family. It's the speed, the advertising on and the wording on things is amazing as well. The way it's changed through this difficult time, as it were. It's like it's pre-planned.
Yeah, you notice that all the adverts now, those ones that want to sell their seminars or whatever it is, or their businesses, they all say that now. Due to this devastating time, and then they carry on what they've got to say.
Yeah. The terminology is very strange as well. You've got nurses that are on the front line. That implies from that there's some war going on. But it's reverse speech, and it seems to be the front line against humanity with this compartmentalised way.
Well, they've said a few really weird things. They've even used the words flattening the curve. Like, what the hell are they talking about? They don't want to talk about anything like that, but they're using it in their words, flattening the curve.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a sample of that. I mean, I don't know if you had it a couple of weeks ago where it was bitterly cold and we got that northerly wind. That's not natural for May. That's like they're pushing this cold weather front down from the Arctic.
Well, I think it's blimmin' lovely. I'm sure where you are, you don't get many planes there, but I'm on a path to Heathrow, and it starts early in the morning, and you get these lines going across the sky, and then you get these grids in the sky, and then the sky's full of this cloud. Since we've had lockdown, we've had many, many more days of blue sky, and when the clouds appear, they're just fluffy, normal clouds.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a few, even though I hate this thing, there's a few things. There's, like, for instance, surely people must notice that the skies have changed because there's no planes. And one other thing I do like, James, but again, years ago, I had a gallstone problem and I had a blood test and the doctor told me I'd have to wait a week. They put me on antibiotics. I was itching and I was thinking, God, it's these antibiotics. So I got back to the doctor. She took me off the antibiotics, had the blood test. And then what it was is it just played on my mind. You know, people are saying, what? They started you on a course of treatment and didn't finish it. So I thought, okay, I feel so ill. So I run the 111 doctor, which is an out-of-hour doctor. Now, that woman, I would have had to have waited a week before I saw that blood test. She saw the blood test the day I had it. She said, you're seriously ill and you need to go to hospital. Now, if I'd waited to go to the doctors, I'd have had 3 or 4 more days of what I was going through and I could have died because she told me I was seriously ill. Now, she ordered the ambulance, she put me into the hospital. Now, wouldn't people rather a service like that if you've had a blood test and the 111 doctor can see that there's something wrong, that you are whisked or going to hospital ASAP rather than waiting another week after you've seen the doctor? Now, why would you, when you're not very well, trundle off down to the doctor? And if they're not real, we know they're not real, but say they were real viruses, why would you go to the doctor? You've given it to everybody. Whatever you've got, viral, whatever, you've got to give it to people. So a lot of people aren't going to the doctors because they're ill, really ill. They've got colds and things like that and they can't cope. And it's just showing that we're a very, what do you call it when you think you're ill all the time, but you're not?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say like a hypochondriac, but that's it.
We're a bunch of hypochondriacs. That's another thing. So the skies were hypochondriacs, and actually, wouldn't everybody prefer being able to have a phone call with someone? And if you are ill, you're going to hospital ASAP. Wouldn't that be much better than trundling off to the doctors, waiting a week for a blood test, and probably dying on the way?
Yeah, definitely.
So there are a few things with this horrible thing we're in right now that could change for the better for the people. But it's just, you know, you've got certain people, we're never going to go back to the way it was, and a part of us feels that we're not.
Well, I would seriously use the time to look into how the body functions, apart from because of a driving license for driving trucks and buses. I would not be registered with a doctor since probably about 1999. I must
admit, who wants to go to the doctors, hey?
Yeah.
I haven't been to the doctors since my gallstone thing. I've refused a mammogram because they wanted to do, it's supposed to be 3 years, and because the lorry was here, oh well, you can be done. And I said, no thanks, I'll wait.
Well,
And what they do to you for a mammogram, I'm surprised you have the mammogram and then we probably all get cancer, because what they do, sorry, I know this is a little bit, what they do to your breasts for this test, it is awful. They crush your boobs in this machine and then they radiate you. So this can't be good for you.
well, you funny you should say that, because the Ipswich Hospital has a trailer outside with that
Yeah, that's
mammogram
what it would
thing.
be. Like that lorry turns up at the hospital.
I was parked quite a distance from it, probably about 80, 90 foot. Every time this thing went off, I thought I could feel it. And that evening, I thought, I don't feel well at all. I'm gonna have to get. And I went to sleep. And I thought, that's just pure radiation coming out of this thing. And I'm sitting here picking up on it. Even from.
Well, I will agree to that, because what it was is my daughter's mum and dad, she worked at the hospital up the road, and they said that she had some cancer somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but she was in, you know, where you go for your X-rays.
Yeah.
She had cancer.
Well, I've heard horror
She
stories.
died, by the way. She died, well, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. But
unnecessarily as well.
probably. And yeah, she had it was awful, because they were giving her a wig and they thought, oh, look, whatever's on her brain. And then they tested her and the cancer was also coming out in her brain. And I felt so sorry. You know, she was a very lovely grandma for Ellie, and Ellie lost her at a young age.
It's so unnecessary though. Just going back to the mammogram.
But I do know what you mean, because the lady down the road, I have a lady that I work for. She's a friend as well, and she's lovely. In fact, I'm going to speak to her later today. And they basically told her that she's got cancer in her hips, in her breasts, and in her bones.
Right.
Now, when you hear that, you think, that sounds terminal to me. Now, in her mind, she's not every day thinking, oh, I've got cancer, I'm going to die. She's just getting on with her life.
That's the best way.
She's had it for about a year. She's in no pain, no treatment, and all they're giving her is a bit of hormones.
Do you know what there's a very simple way to completely reverse that and be 100% free if she eats apple seeds. They've got vitamin B17, which is the perfect cure. Apple seeds? Yes. If you bite into them, they taste a little bit like apricot. Apricot stones I think they have a level of arsenic or something, but there's some property, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I did read something about this. Apricot stones and apple pips, there's something in the vitamins in those.
I was going to ring her before we had the hangout, so I'm so glad I didn't, because when I speak to her later on, I'm going to play that bit of hangout to her. Excellent.
Also, any of the fruit that gets the blue mold on it, things like oranges, any organic fresh fruit and vegetables will all help, but a lot of it is if you're being told you're going to die from cancer and you're thinking in that negative way, well, yes, you will manifest that in your body. It's think of it the other way, and it's like, right, okay, I've got it, so I'm going to enjoy this. And it's turning it into positive thoughts, and it changes the whole body.
She doesn't want to be chopped up or anything. She's nearly 80. She's 80 in the next couple of months. But she doesn't want any treatment. She doesn't want chemotherapy. She doesn't want to be cut up, her breast taken off. I'm very proud of her, to be honest.
Just get her on fresh fruit and veg. That's the best thing. And just keep thinking positively, and she will get through it. She will heal herself. It comes down to, well, it's when they talk about the word of God, it's sound vibration. Even sort of playing that clip saying eat apple seeds, it's a sound vibration if she accepts that, or at least gives it a try. She see the benefits. I've seen this in action. The only thing we can only ever talk about where we're an authority is on personal experience, and I've seen this. I've done healing when I've had messages from Messenger. Can you help me, or can you help my cat or dog or whatever? And that works as well. Whether it's actually
you're going to help someone else, aren't you, as well, when you leave your mum's?
yes, there's a common theme that runs through all of this. Anybody that has any sort of spiritual awareness or truth seeking seems to have gone through some form of abuse or trauma in their lives, and whether that jolts you on this path. But this particular lady, it's not fair for me to go into the details, but she's probably the worst case scenario. And it's like, I can still see the light in her, and it's like, no, we're going to turn this round. She's all her so-called friends disappear when she needs help. So it's like, well, I'm going to prove to you that there is such a thing as a friend, and it won't be just by words, it'll be by action. It's like, I will be there when you need me.
Oh, James. Yeah, because I don't think people realise that if you're not spiritually okay and you don't know yourself and your whole life is a nightmare, you're probably going to have lots of illnesses.
Yeah.
The more you know yourself, the more you get to know yourself, take responsibility for yourself, think about what you're eating, what you're saying, what you're doing. Yeah.
Definitely.
Because everybody thinks that everybody else is responsible for you, but you're not. You're responsible for yourself. Otherwise, who is? It's only your voice in there.
This is it. And, well, the other thing is, if you're...
But sometimes it's a bit hard, though, isn't it, James? When, I was listening to a lady today. What it is it's not... Some of what she said wasn't true, but I thought her parent had died, and it was like Lee, my boyfriend, the mum had been put down as COVID deaf, and it wasn't. And then she said, what it is that they seem to have made us into fear all the time.
Yes.
But what we have is we have a flight and fright response, which is a good thing to have. In fact, they supposedly had it to go into battle and all that. But what they've done is with fear, they keep you in a perpetual state of fear. So you're always flight, and your body, this confuses you. It's not good for you.
Well,
it's not good for us.
It's causing worry, anxiety, stress, and so on, and which actually manifests as acidosis of the blood. That's when the problems really start. So this is
what they're trying to do is, without our knowledge, without people's knowledge, they're trying to make us ill a different way.
Yeah, you've got this continual bombardment. You've also got the 440 hertz broadcast music in every damn shop that is open. But it's like, this is where it's like, okay, I feel angry or whatever, and it's like, well, why am I feeling like this? What's making me feel like this? And you look at yourself.
Oh yes, James. I don't know if I said this to you. I realise, just say you don't know what's going on, and in your house you've got the television on all the time. You might be arguing with your partner all the time and not even knowing why you're arguing, but actually it's because it's coming through the television.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's right. I think it's right down to the flickering of the light on the screen. I just don't watch any of it. That's the best thing anybody can do, is to unplug it and just pay no attention to it, because everything.
Do you know what though? Do you know what? I have to say this. It was actually Richard D. Hall is his name. He was what he was basically saying is, all the people that are hooked into all this, like your mum and other people, it's not their fault. They're victims. They're victims of the people who are doing it. So actually, you can't be horrible to them. You have to be kind and loving to them, and try and I can send you the link if you like, because it's sort of saying, write down all the things that are important to them, so you can just see the other side of it. And then he said, if someone's drowning, do you tell them they're drowning?
This is true. Yeah,
it's a hard one, isn't it? Because I know that, because loads of people have woken up, like us, but we turn around and then 95% of our family thinks we're crazy. Mums, dads, brothers, sisters, whatever it is, lovers, children, and it's so hurtful.
It's so ridiculous. Like, you can walk down the street and people will walk out in the road like you've got the plague. That's a horrible feeling. and then to see how many, you can just see the fear in people's eyes.
Thing is, for anybody that's woken up, right? I mean, a lot of people just like looking, but we're not just lookers. We're people that make videos, have hangouts. We're all like, it's just horrible, isn't it? It's just absolutely horrible. It's a burden on your shoulders.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't allow it to be. I mean, this hasn't actually affected me.
Because you already know what the other people are going to be like. They're going to think you're crazy. And actually, they say you're all these things. But actually, the people who believe in all this, they're all the things. They're the nasty ones. They're the angry ones. It's that they just don't realise.
It's not just that. It's I don't like going out where there's large numbers of people because their energies are so awful, and you can physically see it. It's like if you're in a supermarket waiting with a full trolley, and you've got the person behind you with like just one item. I always say, go on, you can. If that's all you got, you go in front of me, because otherwise they're going to be standing there for half an hour. But I'm going to be giving up maybe.
Yeah, people. When you go in a car, the whole point about being in the car is that you're not just you're in control of the car, but you're conscious of what's going on around you. Yeah. And that's what's happened, is everybody's looking at their phones and nobody's caring or thinking about anybody around them. And until we start to wake up and go and start becoming a community again, this is just going to be the way it is, this narcissistic society.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you've got there's so many people won't even question anything, even if you present them with, well, this doctor's saying this. Because if it's down to, I'll believe what the doctor says because he is a doctor, well, this doctor's saying something different. They won't even look at it. They won't say, oh, I'll look into that. They've already made their mind up.
I don't think we did something that they wanted. And it could just have been as simple as, although they were saying, stay at home, look after the national health, they still wanted all the hypochondriacs to go, and then they would have had a large number of deaths, but they haven't. So something, or it's like we're being taken over or something.
Well, you've got so many underlying agendas with this. You've got this whole cashless agenda, encouraging you to do contactless payments. You've got the assault on small businesses. What about all the people that have been laid off? They're still having to pay rent, still having to pay mortgages. I know that.
Well, I did say I went to that Chinese restaurant, and what it is, I mean, like me, because they're self-employed, they will get a grant. Anybody who's self-employed, their tax code shows it, and they give you a grant. So that's an amount of money coming in. You can get benefit, and also they've paid business rates right up to the end of July. So restaurants are not opening till July, August, and then they can't get rid of the COVID law until then. And what are they waiting for? A relapse or something?
Well, I would imagine this is going to follow the pattern of everything else, this sine wave. So it's a bit like when you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, it's a lovely day, the sun's out, but by the time you've actually gone out there, it's clouded over, and it's like, oh, disappointment. And I should imagine September, the fall, they will plummet everybody's hopes and dreams, as it were. They
don't care already, do they, James? Because I know you understand. It's not that you live it, but they made us into this, materialistic society, giving us debt, giving us footballers who are on millions, and giving us this whole range of. And even if it was a few months ago, that video showed of Boris when he's in a shop, he's going, stay with me, everything's going to get better. So right up until, well, whenever it was, end of February, March, everything was going towards this materialistic society, and then they've just chopped our legs off.
Yeah.
And now there's money being thrown out everywhere, but how can this be? It's got to be planned. There's no way you can do all this and keep everything going if it wasn't planned.
Looking at, for want of a better term, the history that we're told and sold, there's definitely a pattern that these things are planned out over hundreds of years, and they're just repeats on a slightly different theatre. This list of this very vague list of what this COVID-19 is, and whether you're showing signs of it is just
a rule, right, that says don't go outside, you've got to stay in, but you can go outside to exercise and shop. Nothing adds up.
Contradictory. No, it's totally contradictory. your children will be homeschooled unless but this whole thing contravenes
That
all
is a bit of a shock, isn't it, though, James, with the children? Because, excuse me, how they want the children at school looking at that little globe, and they want them in there in that system, and the children will have missed 6 months.
Well, they're doing it through the internet, I think, with children.
Yeah, I think my granddaughter's doing a little bit, but I'm just saying the whole, they've had a great big hole in education for this year.
Yeah, it's well, to be honest, when this first started, I was going out, and it's like I might as well be looking at these pictures of like Martin Leaker shows on Flat Earth British, where you've got these deserted cities, and it's like I'm seeing this rolling out. This is nothing new. It's just a slightly different twist on the script, using a
Do you
virus.
think we're a lot more aware today? Maybe it's the internet that helped us on that, but we're obviously a lot more aware. Because I told you they did this case last year called the Watts case, and they got millions watching that, and you could see people's opinions, and people might look like they'll go, yes, I'm going that way, when it's actually forced on them right now. Personally, don't think the people are doing what they thought they'd do. They thought they'd had years and years of mind controlling us, so that when this happened, like we've had other things, 9/11, the whole thing, there's all these other things. But I think this time there is a lot more aware people. There just is.
Yes, but
Not enough.
a lot of it's a breadcrumb trail, these leaked documents, and it's like, really? Is the security that lapse? Or have they been leaked on purpose? It's always a case of, how am I supposed to respond to this?
Yes, I know, because you get there and you think, oh, well, no, Trump's a goodie. No, he's a baddie. Oh, no, there's a layer. There's another layer. There's another layer and a layer and a layer. And we're just in, no matter what you look at in all this, whether you believe you're a globe or on a flat plane, whatever it is, there is just a matrix of stuff that they put us in. Yeah. And you can even see it on the news. 1 minute, you've got them going, yes, and then they're going, no, yes, and they're backwards and forwards on these stages in front of us. And millions of people are watching it. What aren't they hearing? And listen to some of the things they're talking about, trillions and billions of pounds, and we're going to war with China. Listen to it. How can we trust these people? We can't trust them at all.
Well, there's nothing. I mean, wherever this whole sort of from the truth-seeking side or from the spirit, well, definitely need both parts of this, but there comes to a point where you can see everything is a lie, and it's then that letting go, and it feels like you've been just dropped in the middle of an ocean, and it's like, I know nothing. That's a very uneasy feeling to have. You're suddenly
because we think we know everything. We think we're so educated and the whole thing, and actually we've just been told a bunch of lies to keep us controlled, no matter what it is. And I'm really shocked. A few years ago, when truthers were looking at physicists, everybody in a way would have looked up to a physicist originally. When you listen to them, they're not saying anything. They don't tell you any. This one guy on this interview said, well, what we do is we go and look at it, we go round it, we did it, and that's all he was saying. He wasn't saying anything. There was nothing as an experiment. It was all just words, 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 words. It's the same thing with the nurses. How could the nurses not know you can't catch a virus?
Well, I find it amazing. You get stories that they're rushed off their feet, and they haven't got time. They're snowed under. But this choreographed dancing from all around the world, it's like, are they really nurses or are they dancers? If they're
I've been to 2 hospitals and there was nobody there. I've had people from Ireland send me videos. I've been copying other people's videos. They're all saying nobody. There are people in the hospital, but there's nobody in casualty. There's nobody being whisked in every 10 seconds with a COVID problem.
So even going with that, it's like this perfectly carved dancing that's good enough to go on Britain's Got Talent or something, one of these reality shows. It's like they're perfectly in time with each other. It takes time to rehearse that. And that, I mean, that to me it's like I'm suspicious about the
Well, they
whole
might
thing.
have done
But
that because they might have done that so that the public think, oh, everybody's united, the nurses, and really it was just part of the game.
oh yeah, definitely. This is why I think the
I mean, what
nurses.
about Boris and all that when they're standing on the podium and they've got that tape round them as if they're workmen? I mean, let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about the spirituality of the country. Let's talk about the people. Let's talk about where we're going. Let's talk about some of the things that are much more important than every day coming out and lying to us.
But well, that's the whole thing. It's just there to distract. It's not.
I'm
It's
just hoping
everything.
that people just turn their backs on all these people and realise that you just don't follow them.
It is. It's just coming. It basically comes down to wherever the attention goes, the energy flows. My
And
reality.
in a sense, in the past, it's always shown us that, wars, it's all the papers and the media and everybody, it's all big. But obviously these things are all set up for us.
Oh yeah. The whole thing is ludicrous. I mean, stories of knights in armor. How on earth would they move to let alone swing a sword? It's just ludicrous.
I think the problem is because especially we're on a lockdown right now, but we can't travel, so no one can go to these countries, so we can't really see it for ourselves. And
No,
that's what that film was in the 60s. We can make these videos, of course we can, because who's going to go there? Who's going to see it?
this is it. Well, even just take the Kennedy assassination. I've seen film footage showing a 6-seater car and a 4-seater car. I don't know which is real and which isn't.
Well, I think what it was is he was in a 6-seater car, if you take it that way. But when they did the reconstruction, they put a 4-seater car out, and that's the one everybody remembers.
Well, I think the message is even simpler than that. There's that term, the grassy knoll. Well, there's always the story of this. The sniper was actually from this one bit that conveniently nobody filmed. But then thinking of with the etymology of it, grassy knoll. Well, grass, nature, knowledge. The answers are in nature, I think, is what that's actually telling us. Turn your back on.
Originally, I saw one where the shooter was in the drains, and that's why I could get a good shot. But I don't think that matches up with the thing. But anyway, it's not real because I slowed the footage down, and you can see Kennedy going, "I'm looking at you." You don't see it at normal speed, but when you slow it down, you're thinking, "What is that message in there?"
Well, I got sent a link to something saying the whole thing was staged and he's still alive and he's the QAnon. So you don't know what to believe with any of it. Again, it's just really it's distraction.
Thing is, I think I mean a lot of people say that with Trump that he couldn't reverse the media thing until his second stage of term, which just seems a bit of a cop out for me. But the first thing he should have done was reverse that law so that we were told the truth and they couldn't lie to us. I mean, I know there'd still be lies, but if it was reversed, we might have had a chance. The longer it goes on with these lies and everybody, like, why are they? It's people don't understand. Oh, it's the deep state doing that. Oh, they're doing that to Trump. They don't understand. Every single news station, every single one of them is showing the same footage.
Well, there was all this thing about sealed indictments and Hillary Clinton's going to be been arrested in this great long list. Nothing's ever happened as far as I know. That's all sort of forgotten again.
Yeah, and then I heard she might be running to be the president again. I think, oh my God.
It's just ludicrous.
But you know what? They can't arrest Hillary because Hillary plays all these parts for them. Yeah. She plays men and women, and she's part of Nancy Pelosi, and she played someone else, and she plays it. So they're all playing each other. So, yeah.
Well, they're not in my universe. My universe is as far as I can see and how far I can send my energy out. And it's like all these things they put in the media, and it's like if that's wanting me to respond and get angry. So, well, I'm not allowing that in my universe. So
that's what Cece was saying yesterday. He was laughing. I said, you could become a comedian right now because trying to explain this stuff back, all he's doing is laughing because really he's angry. But you can't stay angry. So what do we do as an alternative? We laugh. Well, I'm thinking, he's laughing so much, you could be a comedian now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, I think, when you wake up because as every day goes on and more people that believe in it, it's just so frustrating for those of us that know it's not real.
Well, the thing is, anything you look at, you just find out, one, it fits in what you've already got. It doesn't conflict with it. And two, it's just, there's another thing that's a lie. And this list gets longer and longer. It's like, we've really been, I mean, even talking
Do you
about,
know what I would love, James? I would love if they imploded. I don't know how it would happen, but I would love it.
well, I go with the idea that that is happening. They know their time has run out. I think we're talking about the end of the age of Pisces and moving into the age of Aquarius. I think there is
Yeah,
a,
that's the other strange thing is, you know how they say they've made sure society, oh, you don't want astrology, hippies like that. Oh, it's a load of rubbish. And when you actually realise it, the governments are using all the astrology lineups. It's all to do with numbers and figures. They're using astrology while they're telling everybody else it's a load of rubbish.
but there's more to this. If you go with the Solarium program, which is a free download, everything is shifted by, I think it's 23. I reckon it's about
Yeah,
23.4.
yeah. Is that? I heard that we're basically so many days out. So basically, everybody's the wrong star sign.
Yeah. So when you're reading the number of people that look at the daily horoscopes, and it is a horoscope, um, they're creating from thought, because it's like 3 months out. So they're manifesting from, it's not applying to that day at all, but it's planted that seed in their mind. And I think this is the level it goes to, this whole collective consciousness. I really do.
James, you and I know, don't you? We've met each other, and then
Yeah.
I was starting to look at footage. I'd done the Watts case. I thought I'd proved myself beyond doubt on that one, but it didn't change the world. And YouTube then changed the algorithms. But then I pick other subjects, and then I started to look at the footage of the 1800s. And it's just something so wrong with it all. And it was coming, wasn't it? Because we kept seeing all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, to me, I mean, when you look at the various bits with the, well, take for example, you've got the biblical story of a Roman census where you had to go back to your town of birth and register. So even going with the official narrative, so it's taken until 1821 for England and Wales to do a census, and then 1841 was the first proper one that they got right. All works out 25,000 enumerators across England and Wales, all going round on the same day, saying how many people are in your household, blah, blah, blah. You've got the tithe maps that come out in the 1830s. It's always a colonel or a lieutenant, a lieutenant has mapped out all these fields. And then you've got the registers with the baptisms and the burials, and they're now on pre-printed pages in proper books. To me, this is saying that's a stock take after something's happened.
I did say, though, James, on that one, what it was is then the churches owned everything, right? So we were probably all living in tied cottages belonging to the churches. So it might have been easier, and it might have been the reason they did it was because many, many people were living. So that's another reason why we went to church, was because we were living on church land.
Could well be.
Do you see what I mean? If we weren't living on church land and the church didn't own everything, you might have found that we weren't going to church in the first place.
Well, you've also, the story with Swindon, which is like the centre of the Great Western, was if they didn't go to church, they didn't have a job on Monday morning. So they were sort of, if you want to keep your job, you'll go to church whether you believe in it or not.
And it might have fitted in where they decided to turn these buildings, which were to look at the stars, and that these are what they were for, all these buildings. And that, when you even take another layer of pavement off, this building then starts to turn into a mini cathedral in front of you. Like some of these buildings are absolutely amazing. So it might be where they turned them into churches and got us going in, but they weren't. They were other things. I mean, there's no way we would have been poor in rags with carts and horses going to church where they spent millions of pounds so we could sing.
Well, it makes absolutely no sense that in an era before you've got tarmac and you've only got horse and carts, that you can move these massive stone blocks. But
I think it's a bit weird to think that we were probably a lot more evolved and further forward maybe 200 years ago than we are now. People think we're so advanced right now. We've been to the moon and all that crap, but we aren't. We're further back, and definitely spiritually.
I feel that the when they're talking about a church being decommissioned, it's nothing to do with being a religious centre of worship. I think they're talking in real terms, that they're still harnessing atmospheric electricity. Granite contains crystal, and it's been shown that you can run current through it. And I think they
Have
are
you heard
still
of
working.
oh, what it is can't think what it is now. I can't think of the word, but basically you can't see it in a camera, but it's there, and they were putting those on the churches, on the weathercocks. So mercury, red mercury.
Yeah, I think looking at the photographs and things, I think that's where they get the term global technology. I think they were glowing balls. You've also got
that leads into like Martin Leakey, doesn't it? Because he talked about things like that and all the pictures he was showing.
There's that footage from that church in Cambodia that's been caught showing this. They are glowing balls, and it's got like a buzzing sound. I can't verify how.
I mean, if you look at, you can't right now, but if you look at Notre Dame, that cathedral, church in Paris, when you actually look at the shape of it, and it was supposed to have been built in the 10th century, so like 1,000 years ago, how the hell could they build all that? That is not a church. It looks like an animal almost. It's got these, well, you can't see it now because it's burnt down, but it had this beautiful structure. There's no way we would have been building that 1,000 years ago.
No, I think
it being something else, Tartaria, whatever it is.
I think they were water healing centres. I think sound and light through the stained glass windows are all connected to this, and it's been twisted into something else. But I think these buildings still function. But what is interesting as well,
bit like pyramids then.
Well, when you understand that the heart is not a pump, it's actually folded up on itself, and it works on a suction method, and there's like an X, which I suppose is where we get the saying cross your
Do you believe our blood is like plasma until it obviously appears in the open air, but inside our body it's like a plasma? It's like we're androids or something.
The cells are the actual power source. The heart is actually interrupting the flow of the blood. It's working the other way around. But what's interesting is they're at 60-degree. They're a Gothic arch where these two parts of this heart cross over. And when the heart is not functioning properly and it turns more into a ball, they call it a Roman arch, which is rather interesting. All roads lead to Rome again. So it's encoded in these entrances to the churches as well. It's also can be described as when you go in through the arched doorway of a church, it's going through the vagina. Mary means tower. You've got the chancel, the chancel, and you've got the nave. The terminology in these words is very revealing. And of course, the collection plate. When think of that in energy terms, if they're harnessing some sort of spiritual energy or atmospheric electricity, these churches.
I don't think people understand these buildings. Even these buildings, like it was through Stan Smith. He was the one. Z Proxy found a video and a building, and basically they'd had a great big metal thing in there, great big, like it had been huge. This building would have been enormous, like the size of a football pitch, and they would have been using these great big wheels to look at the sky. And I was like, wow. And I was thinking, God, you see these great big buildings all over the place in Italy. Yeah, great big square. How had they been able to have built it? We were in rags and horses and carts. How would we have? They've got cement, and how could we have built all these things?
Well,
it's like we've turned up on a film set or something, isn't it?
I did go through a phase of, if I saw a local builder, I would pose that question to them. I would point to one of these so-called Victorian or Georgian buildings or a church or something, and I would say, leaving aside the financial aspect, say money is no problem with this, could you build that building out the same materials? And they've all said no. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. You've got machinery today. Surely it must be easier to make an exact copy of that building. But every builder I've spoken to has said they can't do it. So that implies that
not just that, the length of time it would have taken to have built it.
Yeah. Well, as
Especially things like in the 1800s, they built almost half a palace onto Buckingham Palace.
well as
That would have taken years.
Jamie Lee on the Plain Truth for You channel has just done a video on asylums. 1849 is the gold rush. By 1851, you've got this 100-acre palace proportion asylum. And what's going on? Is the gold giving off some vapor that's making everybody go mad? Because
No, I think the saddest point is that, when you remember that's the bit with the 1800s when we went over to America and then they were quarantining the people and taking the children off. It's such a shame at that point they didn't say, well, when we went to America, oh gosh, there was another civilization here and all the buildings were here.
Yeah, this is what they've tried to cover up.
And Australia, the same.
Exactly. Well, everywhere around the world, South America.
Yeah, but those places were, like Australia is a much newer country and America's only a few hundred years, 300, 400 years old. Everybody was living across the rest of the world, well, most of the world at that time. But I'm just saying there's two places you could pick. Such a shame when they went there, they didn't say, oh, look at that church that's built or whatever. They didn't. They lied and then they put a date on it. Oh, this was built in 18 something. So what? A year after we got here, you've got a palace. Or something, a big building. It's just ridiculous.
Well, a term used in buildings is a facade, and that's basically why you've got the term Freemason, because they're taking credit for somebody else's work. It's like a theft. We'll rewrite history and say we've built this and we'll come out with this.
Well, I'd like to know, we've got things like the Roman baths, they look older. Then you've got things with all the pillars in that look Roman. I want to know what that is. And those buildings are in America, they're in England, they're in Europe, they're in Australia, they're everywhere, just like the pyramids are everywhere, they're all over the world. I'd like to know the truth of these things.
Well,
I know we probably won't, but I would like to.
It could be the bundled facades being shown with these pillars. It could be 4 pillars of earth. There's so much encoded in these buildings.
But they're lying about Tartaria, aren't they? Because they put Tartaria over Russia, but it wasn't. It was over the whole world. And then what people don't realise is, through research on Sun and Moon years ago, an artist, his name was, he was finding that there is a wall that appears across the whole world.
Yeah.
And there's bits of it left. And some of it's China. So what was it? They were that side and we were this side?
It's the same with the Hadrian's Wall and the other one near the border between England and Scotland. To me, that looks more like that's a defensive position from somebody from the north, rather than the Romans building the thing. Certainly with the one with China, the arrow slots are on the wrong side.
It was Tartaria making a stand.
Yes, I think that's what looks to be the case with the architecture. I've looked at the Google Earth at parts of Hadrian's Wall. It's very low. This again, I think, is dovetails nicely into when they're talking about flattening the curve. Seeing that everything follows the same design, we've got various layers to our skin. Well, what if this ether dome has several layers and it's a magnetic field that's coming down?
I've got something to add to that. I was at Leeds and this programme came up about Queen Victoria. Not Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth I. Yeah. And there I learnt that Edward IV was illegitimate and never should have been king. Yeah. Then you've got him, I think it's Edward IV. Then you've got Henry VII, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I.
Yeah,
they're showing the Tartaria. So basically, the real King of England lives in Australia, which is just like, what? Anyway, but they were showing the maps, the Tartaria maps. And then it came to me. When I took the 4 rivers, what it is the map showed that Greenland was the size of the UK, maybe a little bit bigger. It was lying on its side a bit, and it was almost in the opening of one of the rivers. That's what the Tartaria map showed. But if you include Greenland and the 4 rivers, that's what they're showing is Greenland today. The North Pole sits in Greenland. So if we can't even get that bit right and they're lying about that, and then if that piece of land could be quite small or quite big, that looks like Tartaria. There was buildings on it and everything in the maps. But we don't know what's there. It could be the Bahamas, the bit, because if you go to Everest, and you looked out, you think, oh, this goes on forever.
Yeah.
A couple of 100 miles away, you'd be sitting on a beach. It's a very cold place in a hot place, and Greenland could be the same. A cold place, and behind it is a very, behind the mountains is a hot place. You're in ski stuff on when you're skiing in America, and at the bottom of the hill you're in shorts, mountain you're in shorts. So it could be the same thing, but we're not allowed to go there, so we won't know. But this is just something. How could they do that? Put the Four Rivers as Greenland?
Well, don't forget as well that all civil aircraft follow flight paths, so they're never going to fly over anything where you're going to stay. Hang on, there shouldn't be land there. They could be hiding no end of land masses.
Oh, and you know something else as well on the Tartaria map between England and America, but more near America, there was loads of islands which they never talk about or show on maps today. These islands would be the size of Majorca. You could still live on there. Communities, many people could live on these islands, and some of them were bigger. Like say the size of Crete or something. So they're there, but they're not showing us on the maps today that they're there, but they did in the Tartaria time. I don't know what it means. I don't know if we fly over them. Nobody notices them, but there's lots of islands which don't appear on our maps right now.
Yeah, there's a few unmentioned islands apparently on certain flight paths where they land to refuel and take off again, but I don't know. But it's certainly plausible that there's land masses that are being hidden from all of us, because there's no way of getting near these places unless you go out by boat. But
no, so it begs you that probably the aircraft companies are in on this too, aren't they? Really, because they would know, because sometimes they're going to go, well, we flew over there and we could. So they know where everything is, but they don't take us there.
Well, you've only got to look who manufactures military aircraft, and
even that, James. You know what? Maybe 20 years ago it was all petrol. I don't know about that, because when you think of Victor Schauberger in the 1930s, he'd already understood what birds did, and that's how he made the planes of today, where it's the things on the wings. What are they called? I've forgotten what they're called. Condensers. They're just condensers. They're not engines. And planes today, they're military planes which they've made into passenger planes, because when these things take off, it's like a 4D flying up there. These things can do all sorts of things just after they've taken off.
Yeah.
And they're flying around as if they're in some kind of water or something, but they're not. They're in air, and they can make, they show you that a plane can take off, and they can almost, nobody's in the plane, but they can go straight up.
Well, you've only got to think about how long it takes at a petrol station forecourt. If a tanker is there, how long it takes to discharge fuel for the underground tanks for that fuel station. And the weight of it, and then what they tell you how much fuel that these planes hold.
You'd be sitting on a bomb. Who wants to be sitting on a bomb? Because I'm not flying anymore then, if there's all that petrol below me.
Well, physically there isn't the space in the wings for the tanks to,
or even underneath you.
Yeah, there isn't. Well, not only that, if you've got liquid, it's going to be moving about. That's going to affect.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that. They think because you're moving, it's going to stop all that. But I was allowed a while ago to. It's on Unscrambled. I don't know how you find it. You'll have to go through the channel. But it's a lorry driver, and he's saying basically, you just got to drive really carefully and stop slowly, because when you put your brake on, and he put his brake on to show you, like it's like an ocean hitting the back of his truck.
That's it. Yeah, I've experienced that myself.
And that would happen in flight. Can you imagine? They're turning the plane, like we're turning. Oh my God, all the petrol's gone down to the right. That's it. We fall out of the sky.
I sat on the quayside with two of these 20-foot tankers behind me when I was driving trucks. And I thought another truck had gone in the back. I'd stopped, and then like 2 minutes later, there was this thud where this liquid had settled. So you imagine a plane it's going down the runway, then suddenly it's putting the nose up in the air. That liquid's going to move, and then when they get up in the air, they start to turn, so the liquid's going to move again. And the amount of, well, not only that, where's this great long?
You do a nosedive. Boom.
Where's this great long line of tankers to refill these planes?
Not just that, the pressure to get it in there. Can you imagine it? The pressure.
Yeah.
In these little tiny tubes to get it in there.
you've only got to look at the data that they give you from Boeing and Lockheed about these engines, and they admit it in there. It's just forced there. There's maybe a little bit of fuel to ignite it, but it's just compressed air that's sucked in.
They need fuel to go down the runway, and they need fuel to take off and land. Yeah, we understand that.
Apparently, that's just to save wear on the batteries. That's all that's for. And just
it's awful to think, it's a bit like the trains, isn't it? We were electric, then we went diesel, now we're going back to electric until people wake up and realise free energy.
Yeah.
And the electricity companies doing the same thing. Those pylons are harvesting free energy from the atmosphere.
The thing that makes me laugh is how everybody has forgotten about Sellafield and the people who were having the heart problems. And it was all. Oh,
that was probably fake as well, wasn't it? Because nuclear doesn't exist like we think it does.
No, but the thing is, it was the electromagnetic fields from the high voltage electricity from the overhead pylons that were affecting people's hearts. I do understand, because down at Thatcham train station, there's a substation there, and when you get out the car, all you hear is from the substation. So people living near something like that can't be good. Well, that was proven with Sellafield, that the high voltage pylons were having an adverse effect on people's health, affecting their hearts. And now we've got the same thing again with this 5G. But I think a lot of this is being put out as fear. I think this is this magnetic wave of this level of the ether dome that is coming down, and I think it will sweep through everything.
I do feel like the sky is coming down a bit. A lot of us are noticing that there's one star so low in the sky. Like, it didn't used to be this low, but it's really low.
The clouds.
But I'm not sure. Like, when you thought the sun was 93 million miles away, maybe it looked 93 million. Now it isn't. Everything's just got closer.
Yeah.
And it gets closer and closer.
Could well be. Could well be drawing it in.
So we've been going for an hour, James. So what's your thoughts for everybody then? What can people do spiritually? What's your thoughts for that? I know you're sort of taking a bit of a break as well, but I've nabbed you.
I mean, it's often talked about be positive and unconditional love. A lot of it is really just going in yourself. If you're starting to feel angry or feel a particular negative emotion, it's like, think to yourself, well, why am I feeling like that? What's true?
Oh,
all this wretched mainstream media and all this fear porn, just don't give your attention to it. Focus on yourself. If anything, I mean, if you've got a garden, I mean, it's beautiful here. Turn it round so you can see. I mean, it's a little bit hazy, but it's blue skies. I'm a little bit
hazy, but blue skies. Same here, yeah.
Just use the time as like a retreat, and I don't know, look into things to improve your health. All the natural ways of doing things. I mean, fresh fruit and veg, organic, not obviously the sprayed stuff. If something like grapes are meant to have seeds, get the ones with seeds. If they haven't got seeds in them, they've been modified. Listen to your body. If you feel a pain, then it's your body is telling you there's something not right, and you can adjust the diet and you can change it. And from thought saying, I'm not having this pain, it's an illusion. It's amazing what you can actually do for yourself. It's really worth looking into all of this.
So basically, it's calm down then.
Yeah.
Restock.
You want to sort of keep your body.
Wake up.
Keep your body out.
Wake up, restock, know yourself, move on.
Yeah. You don't want to be acidic inside. You want to be alkaline, and so it's look at the diets that are going to give you that alkaline thing. And then, just don't give into all this. Don't feel fear. Don't think. Oh.
Yeah, we got James back. His phone died just then, but he's come back to say goodbye, haven't you, James? That was very nice. Thank you, James. And I know that you're not feeling particularly brilliant yourself, are you? You're feeling a bit, not low, but maybe it's just weighing on you all. Because, we've been going on with this for weeks now, and there's still no frigging answer.
It's more sort of when your own family are sort of, it sort of hits home, and it's like, well, that's just ridiculous. I mean, all of us came out of of, of one of your family, i.e., your mother at
That's
one
what I
point.
said to my kids. I gave birth to you. That's what I said to my eldest son. I gave birth to you.
Yeah, it's so ludicrous. It's like, even if it's a nice day, oh, I didn't go out, and yet
Just shows you what they've done, though, James.
Sorry.
Shows you what they've done, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like there's just no common sense with people. It's like, well, yeah, keep 6 foot apart, but if you sneeze, that projects germs 25 foot. So what good would that do anyway?
And then the perspex things at the tills, you know, if they think that's going to save them.
Yeah, I just look at it. I don't sort of kick up a stink. There's no point. I just go with the idea of, well, I've got plenty of time, and I don't mind if I'm queuing outside to get into a shop and it's sunny anyway. I think, well, I'll just get some vitamin D. So it's just think of the positive in it is the best way. I know it's difficult at times. We all have bad days, and I think this is where find that network of people who are. You don't have to agree on everything, but if you're aware that there's something wrong and you can support each other just with positive words, that helps. We can still use this internet, social media, to our advantage, and just keep each other in high spirits. Really, that's what I.
Oh.
Well, like, I don't really go on Facebook that much, but it's more for the messenger. But sometimes I'll look through and I think, oh, that person's feeling a bit down today, and I'll message them and try and sort of bring them back up again. It's like, we can't afford to lose anybody on this journey. I mean, it's bad enough as it is. Don't want them falling down rabbit holes and feeling that.
Yeah, we need to stick together, don't we?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's all about the theme is always about unity and solidarity, sticking together. We're all supposed to come from one. We're all supposed to be part of a creator. So why aren't we doing it? That's all we can do. Sort of one soul at a time, really. I think just got to give it our best shot.
Yeah, but I do think that not everybody's on the same frequency as others, though.
No,
you know, because it's how come some of us see it completely for what it is, and it's a joke. Well, it's not even a joke, is it? It's worse than a joke.
Yeah.
But other people think it's real.
I know. Well, if they want to go and have their vaccines, let them go and have their vaccines, basically.
Once you wake up, though, once you know that there's a bunch of lies, you just can't go back and pretend it's all real anymore. And that's where we've got to. It doesn't matter whether you're a child or an adult. Whenever it happened to you, you just can't go back.
No. It's having that. It's being honest with yourself to say, yeah, okay, I fell for all this at one time. But I'm now seeing things in a different way because I've had to think about things. I've listened to I think a lot of us go in like, you hear David Icke and various other people, InfoWars or whatever, and you sort of go on from that. And the more you sort of look into, the more, at the end of it, it's like, all I've learned from it really is I know absolutely nothing.
And also like, I know people, including my boyfriend, is just constantly trading for the truth. He wants more information. We might never get it. We just get the loose ends.
I think it gets to a point where, okay, I can look at a Tatarian building in this location or that location, and it's basically the same story. Normally a great fire, and then the building's destroyed, and it's like, well, yeah, I've seen enough of that now. That's all that's really shown me is there's things that have happened in the past, and it looks like similar things are happening today. So how can I change it? So I've now got to go within myself and you know, it's like when you go out in the sunshine, how you feel that much better, and it's keeping that feeling inside, really.
Oh, thank you, James.
I think so. I think well, the answers are always supposed to be simple. Well, that's just stay positive. Don't give in to the
And
fear.
where have you got to on your
Um,
channel? What episode are you on your channel?
Was it 14? I think 14. No, I think number 15 will be the next one.
And what's that one going to be about?
I never know. It's just as and when things come, really. Might be in a response to questions or something I happen to see or something I just think about. There's no sort of set, no set menu with it. It's just as and when something comes, or people ask questions, or sort of conclusions I've come to about stuff, really. But they're open to modification if new information comes.
James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the hangout and to catch up. And you're moving on, are you? You've got somewhere else to go?
Yeah, sort of. Well, again, this is a perfect example of manifestation. It gets to the point where you feel like I just don't want to go on anymore. I want a mission. Give me someone I can help, because it's like I can talk on the channel about things, but I'm in a position where I'm sort of floating about, and I can put the thought manifestation.
What about you, James?
What about me? In what way?
Well, you're putting a lot of energy out. What about you? Is it that you've done enough on yourself and now you feel you can go out?
Yeah, I think it comes down to that on the aircraft. Sort of put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yeah, James, you were talking about more like frequencies and things, isn't it? Or that bit with the numbers, I actually tell people, because sometimes it really irks people. Everywhere I look, there's a 9 or a 4 or a 3 or whatever it is. And I'm saying, that's the world telling you you're in tune with the world.
That's a good way of doing it, yeah. Otherwise, that can become a rabbit hole in itself. What does that number mean? Why do I keep saying that particular number? Just take it as a...
You know what? Jim Carrey and the guy who played the Gladiator, is he from Australia or New Zealand? I can't remember what his name is. These people did films about numbers. And I'm thinking, how could we have numbers everywhere, even on the footage, when we're digital? How do you think that works, James? When we're digital, but you can see numbers on them.
That's interesting. I'm not sure. It's weird. I've noticed this with the numbers, but that sort of implies we're in a matrix, like a simulation.
What, we're computers and we're plugged in like Neo, and like really we've come from the other side, but we're like Neo now.
This is the thing. I can't 100% say in all honesty that this is not a simulation, a matrix, that we're even here. I mean, are we in a conscious and a subconscious? Are we in 2 days, 2 dreams, and we're actually a projection? I really don't know.
Do you know the one thing? Just say, for instance, James upset me, and I think, God, he bloody upset me. I really hate him. The next thing you find that it's happening to you, it's happening to you. So it was you that did it to me. Now I'm doing it to someone else.
Yeah. It's the magnetism again. It's the energies, the frequencies, the polarities of it. I think, well, a few years ago, you get people and you think, oh, why do they have to come into my life? And I think sometimes they're reflections. It's like
to teach you a lesson. To teach you a lesson, James.
It's like, see that person over there? Whatever they're doing, you don't want to be like that. That's, I think, the way it works.
Mind you, do you know the one thing I thought, though, James? When you're a selfish person, you don't care about anything else, and it's all made for you, because I want that, I get it, I'm happy. The more you wake up, the more you become sensitive to others, the more all that happens, the worse your life gets. But I can't go back. I'm not saying I'm not selfish, but I'm a bit more like you. I like to help people get people together, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when you're with all this information, usually it hits you. And you're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
those have just been selfish and not cared about anybody else, because those people win every time.
Well,
you know
they
what I mean,
seem
don't
to.
you? They're happy, they get what they want, and they're happy.
Well, they don't seem to be, because it seems to be once they've got one thing, then they're looking for something else. It's that sort of unfulfilled.
I meant it a bit more like, you know, like you said you wanted to see your daughter, and she said, oh, I don't know, I'm not going out, and that really upset you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of feeling you get with the awareness, and nobody else gets it, and you're left with like hanging there like, how can you not see this?
Yeah, they just can't. I don't know what it is. I think it's mercury damage, to be honest. Something's not firing in the frontal cortex. There's a type of dementia that's going on. So again, I think you've got in some ways, the madness and the asylum script being played out from the 19th century all over again. The whole thing with locking people up in the asylums, and
cool, I'd love to have known. Obviously now they're saying cowboys and Indians aren't real, you know, who were locked up in quarantine. I'd love to know the real truth. That still could all be a lie, but it's just what I've uncovered looking through the fake history, but looking through it, that's what I see.
We're always maybe laugh with any of these Wild West films. Well, all these pistols have got 6 bullets in a round, and then but they just seem to be trigger happy.
I suppose they had to get the guns in somehow, didn't they? They had to bring the guns in somehow, so cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're out in the middle of nowhere, miles from civilization, and you're just firing off these bullets. Well, are you going to get some replacements if you need them? This is supposed to be hostile territory. You're either going to get scalped by a native savage, or you're going to be attacked by a grizzly bear, or but the whole, it's just a reinforcing this fake narrative, I think, with all of it.
Maybe the logo should be for the people. Start getting real.
Yeah. But a lot of, I think there's an element as well. A lot of people, they can see it, but it's too frightening to them, and they don't want to even look at it, which is a shame, because they're, as much as anything else, you can turn things around. You can start to find out that all these medicines are not actually going to restore your health. They're going to keep you sick. And there's another way of doing things with turning to nature and natural things that you're putting in your body. And I mean, I don't get ill.
James? No, he's got stuck again. Oh, he's back. You're back. I had to quickly put the dog in my daughter's room because it was starting to make noises, you know, like, help, I need to get in. Right. So I just opened the door, and as I was doing that, you went blank. But maybe we should say goodbye, and then if you disappear, then I'll end the hangout. But we'll say goodbye, but carry on talking. Let's do things backwards.
Well, thank you for having
the hangout, thank you so much for coming on, James.
You're welcome.
Because I know you're in a thinking mode at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like a meditation in a way. It's noisy in the head, though. It's as soon as I wake up, it's like, oh. There's no let up in it. It's
maybe it is a little bit hard sometimes when you go through this great big search and you understand so much, and then you go, yeah, there's still nowhere to go.
Yeah, this is it.
And then you get bits of information which make sense, which work things out, but you can't prove it, so that's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
the one thing, very quickly before you go, I didn't realise, I was with Lee, we were watching this video, and I really hadn't realised that, you know, when you get these OBEs, MBEs, KGBs, they're called, the higher it goes with the letters, the higher you are in the system. And I didn't realise, I just thought that was an accolade, but really what they're saying is, in their world, this person's now got to here. Yeah, James? Oh no, we've lost James again. Anyway, If James doesn't come back, we'll finish this, because obviously it's been a few times now where his internet has logged off. It shows he's there, but he's not there. But I found that really amazing, that it was just showing you how high they've got in the system, and the Queen gives it to you, and not whatever it is. It's all crazy, but we've had a really great hangout. Thank you, James. Even though he's not here, I'm looking at him. And mwah to James, and mwah to the chat room.